Well, hello everybody. Welcome to our Friday demo. I am excited about what we're going to try tonight. Hope you had a great week. Thanks for joining me on Friday. Happy Friday to all of you. I hope you have big plans for the weekend and have a nice relaxing time. But before we get there, we're going to try a do-over pour. In the last membership class we had, that was the Q&A, I did a demo in that Q&A, and it was supposed to be a cloud pour, but it didn't quite work out. So we're going to try it again. I've got the same colors mixed up. I've got a little larger panel I'm going to be pouring on, but we're going to do the same thing and see if we can get a different result, a little more pleasing result for what we're trying to do. So that's what we're going to do tonight. So welcome everyone. Susan is here. Hey, Susan and Carla. And hey, Novala, great to see you. And let's see, Pat is here. And Monique has joined us. Awesome. So welcome everybody. So you might have, I know most of you have seen this and or watched the Q&A. You were all there. But this behind me, let me see if I can get out of the way. This is the painting we did just this last Wednesday. It turned out okay. It looks like kind of a really cool kind of a ring pour. It was a straight pour, but it really wasn't exactly what I was intending. I wanted it to be a cloud pour with this different colored cloud mix. And I had just way too much of the cloud mix in the first layer of the cup. So we're going to try to remedy that, try to get a different result, a better result, and hopefully a cloud looking pour. So we're going to try it again. And I actually do this all the time. I don't think I film this too often. I don't think I do like repeat pours or multiple pours doing the same thing. But in actuality, I do this quite often when I'm trying to get something to work. You know, I'll usually start with a little small painting. First of all, if I've got an idea, if that works, I'll usually go larger with it. And a lot of the times it works out and it's a nice painting, but sometimes the larger version just doesn't work out for whatever reason the way I wanted. So I'll try it again, and I'll often change something if maybe if it's the colors that didn't work right, I'll modify the colors, or more often than not, I like the colors because I've picked those in my small painting. But it's the quantity of the colors, so or the order of the colors. So I'll always probably tweak something, and then give it another shot. And sometimes I've done a painting 2, 3, 4 times, and each painting was nice, maybe, but not quite what I was after. So I have no problems with doing paintings again and again to get a different result, or just something a little different, or just liking the painting I did, but I want to try it again and seeing if I can maybe get less of a certain color or a little bit more design in a certain area, something like that. Of course, you can only control so much, but don't be afraid to just do a couple paintings again and again. So there's nothing wrong with that. And of course, just keep your expectations realistic with what you're trying to achieve, and then learn from your previous results. So that's what we're going to do today, and we're going to try it again and see what happens. So here's my 16 by 20 panel. So I'm doing a little larger one. That's also going to help. Going a little larger format is always a good idea, usually, because you have more room for things to happen. So I always prefer to go larger if I can, or I usually enjoy the paintings more when they're larger. So we'll see what happens. All right, so let's see here. I'm going to flip the camera. Let's take a look at the colors. And again, I'll go this way. Here's the one we did Wednesday. And that one, I had a huge gray kind of center of the painting, which was the cloud mix. I just used too much of it. So I ended up tilting a ton of paint off. I stretched and stretched and stretched, and it ended up being a nice painting. I really like it. I love the colors, but we want something a little more like a cloud pour, like a traditional cloud pour. So that's what we're going to do today. We'll see what will happen. So I'm going to flip over here to the top camera, and I'll show you the colors we'll be working with. I've got my panel ready to go. It's all prepped and ready to pour on. I've got a little bit more of this blue. This is the base coat, just this blue color. And I'm going to tilt over the entire thing. There's not going to be any negative space in this one. So I'm not too worried about the color of the base coat. And then here is our cloud mix. This is our 4-part cloud mix. It's the same paint I used in the first painting, the one we did on Wednesday. And I have quite a bit of it left. I didn't want to make any more because I don't want to be tempted to use too much. So we're only going to be using this smallish amount. I've got my metallic white. I mixed up some more of this. One of my favorite colors, the Artist Loft metallic white. I love the effects that gives, and it's a very fun paint to use. And then right here, this is the blue gray from Liquitex Basics. Beautiful color. I use this one a lot. I love the value. It's like a mid to dark value color, but it's just this beautiful, neutralized blue. I love it. So it's a beautiful color. I really like it. And then this one right here is some dioxazine purple with a little bit of black in there. And I threw in a little bit of another type of a purple. So it's a couple of different purples and a little bit of black, but it's basically just a dark color, like a dark kind of blackish, purplish gray color. So those are our colors. And then going back to the cloud mix for a second, this is the 4-part cloud mix that I like to use. And the satin enamel in this paint is the DecoArt Americana satin enamel. So this is the original stuff that kind of created the cloud mix. Only this is the taupe. What is it called here? Gray taupe is the color of this one. So I use 1 part of this, and then 1 part of white, and then 2 parts of the Floetrol, and then 1 part of the Vallejo iridescent medium, and that's the 4-part cloud mix. So it's a colored cloud mix, and we'll see if we can get a cool cloudy mix using this stuff. I'm not quite sure. We'll find out. Okay, so let's go ahead and layer our cup. I've got my measuring cup here. It's the same one. So I'm going to measure or layer on this side of the cup where my little arrow is, and then I'm going to pour, of course, out of the spout. And for 16 by 20 straight pour, we need 10 ounces of paint. So that will be the top line of our cup right here. And also, I just wanted to show you this. This is the, it's probably hard to see. You can't read it. It's probably too small. This is the pouring journal sheet we filled out on Wednesday. I did that as a kind of a demonstration. So I'm just using the same sheet here. And this is the great part about this is when you want to do a painting again or try it again, we've got all the information we need. We've got all the colors. I've got the exact color order, which I'm going to keep the same. I'm not going to alter anything except the amount of paint I use. And so it's going to be exactly the same pretty much, but I have all that information. It's filled out for me. So there's no guessing or wondering what I did in the past. So it's super handy to have the pouring journal pages and fill them out. It just makes things a whole lot easier and more organized for the future. So let's go ahead and layer our cup, and we're going to start again with our cloud mix. And I'm just going to use a smaller amount in here. And here we go. That's pretty good. I just want a small amount because that's going to be the center of our pour. And then I'm going to go to our metallic white. And the blue-gray. And I'll probably do about 3 layers. And the purple, I'll kind of go easy with the dark purple color in the first layer. Let's go back to our cloud mix. And again, I want to be conservative with the cloud mixture because it can have a tendency to take over the paintings. And that was part of the problem in the first one. All right. Okay, and then I'm just going to use one smallish third layer of the cloud mix, and then everything else will be just the regular paints. And all these other paints are my easy formula. So 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part, I'm sorry, yeah, 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part paint is my easy formula. So we're almost done, just a small amount of our purple here. And there is 10 ounces. So we're good to go. That was 3 layers of each color. It's a beautiful looking cup. I'll set that aside for the moment. And let's go ahead and put our base coat on. All right, here we go. And these are all the same consistency. So the base coat and all the paints, just a small mound when you drizzle the paint off the stir stick. I like to keep everything the same. And again, I put a little too much, as I always seem to do. I think I just love to pour the paint. So I just don't want to stop pouring it. I find it very fun to pour the paint on the canvas or the panel. Yeah, still a little bit too much. Okay. All right, almost done. Ooh, I got a thing in there. A little stringy bit. I got to get that out of there. And I'll probably give this a real quick torch. I do have some air bubbles in there, so we'll get those out and we're ready to pour. Let me grab my torch. Okay, that is it. I'm going to flip the camera over and you can kind of get a better shot of the puddle. It's looking like it's all looking for a zoom. Let me see if I can get it zoomed in there. It should stop when I start to pour the paint. Okay. So let's see. Let's get going. I'm going to just start pouring right in the center, right here. And we'll see what happens. A nice thin stream of paint. And this is just a straight pour. So I'm not going to do any rings or anything like that. I like to just keep it pretty simple. And you can vary the height of your cup. And I've been using the measuring cups a lot lately. Just I like the spout where you can get a cleaner stream of paint. Sometimes just a regular cup, you get that kind of ribbony stream of paint. Oh my gosh, there was a big old chunk that fell off. I'll have to dig that out. I don't know where that came from. I do see some cloudy things happening, which is cool. So far this is coming out looking pretty nice. I like the puddle so far. We're getting close to the end here. And I'm going to stop it right here. So I'm going to pull it back and grab that last drip. That wanted to just keep on dripping. So it's a pretty nice looking puddle. I'm going to go back to the top view, and it looked like a giant boulder came out of that cup. I don't know what that was. I think it's right over here. I'm going to see if I can find it before we proceed. I might have to start tilting a little bit. Oh, here it is. Let's see what that is. Gosh, it's a big chunk of dried paint. I know exactly what that is. It's a piece of the dried paint that came off of the paint tube when the paint dries. On the spout when you're. I always recommend. It's right here. So it was like a piece of dried paint from one of my paint tubes, and it broke off and landed in my paint. I normally always try to pull those off. I must have missed one, but that's what that was. It's like this little tiny thing, but in a pour, it's like looks huge. So I'm glad we got it out of there, though. All right. And all right, let's go ahead and start tilting. We've got cloudy stuff happening, which I like all around here. Like our center, which is our cloud mix, we've got these little soft, feathery looking ends, which looks pretty cool, very cloudy. So I think this is looking pretty good to start with. So I'm going to just run through my tilting routine here and just stretch out the paint puddle. I'm just going to expand this puddle out. We've got some crazy looking cells happening, which is kind of cool. The metallic white that was probably responsible for a lot of those. So there we go. We kind of stretched out our puddle. I got to pick a corner here to start with. I think I'm going to go. Well, I think I'm going to go to this corner first, and we'll see what happens. Okay, and then I'm going to come right down here. Okay, so far so good. Let's come on down to this corner next. All right. So we are getting cloudy effects. I like the center so far. It's looking pretty good. We've got all kinds of cool stuff happening in this painting. So let me stretch and I'll tilt over this last corner and we'll take a look. I'm going to keep going here a little bit. Got a weird looking, looks like almost like a caterpillar in there. A caterpillar cell, which I wasn't too thrilled with. And there's no silicone in any of these paints. That was kind of unusual. Okay, I'm just going to move this back a little bit. And there we go. So we've got everything covered. I really like what's happening in general with the whole painting. It's a darker composition than the first one because I use more of that purple, the dark color, but I like it. So let's see if there's anything else we want to do. I'm just going to take a look and assess our painting. So the thing I notice the most is I like all the effects happening everywhere in the painting except the center, really. So I'm not a huge fan of this cloud mix for the center. You know, this colored cloud mix. It's very opaque, which is kind of standard with most white cloud mixes. But it's very boring in there. I don't really love that. We've got some cool kind of cloudy things happening. We got crazy looking cells happening around here. I really like these, but I'm just not in love with that center there. So I think what I'm going to do is probably pour a good chunk of that off, and because it's also compositionally, it's just a big kind of dull, gray center, big gray blob in there. So I'm going to probably pull this down, pour off a lot of this bottom part, and that'll bring some of this stuff down too. I love all of this over here. So I'm not super crazy about this right here. It's kind of wild looking, and I'm not, and it's right in the corner, so I'm not a huge fan of that. I think I want to move the focus to mostly all of this stuff up here, and I think I'll kind of do what I did with the first one, is kind of pour off a lot of our cloudy center, because it just doesn't do that much for me. So I'll probably have to think twice about using the colored decor again. But let's go ahead and do a little more tilting and see what happens. And I see a lot of you are agreeing with me about the big dull center. So I'm not alone. So we're going to just pour some of it off and then make it more of a, if that center was more in the corner, I would like that, because the corners don't really need to have all that much interest anyway. And the corners are a nice place to have kind of a plain spot, something plain. And it's never good to have really active stuff in your corners. I mean, not my centers, but corners. So I'm just tilting this at an angle here, and I like what's happening with some of the other lines. We're getting kind of a cool diagonal direction with the top corner. So I'm going to let it just come down here a little bit. And go off a little more. Bring it back. There we go. Now I like that a whole lot better. So I'm going to turn that around. So to me, I think that looks a whole lot more interesting. And we don't really, again, it's not really a cloud pour, although it does have some cloudy kind of effects in there. Some of the subtle kind of blending of colors, which I like. I think I'm going to even pour off a little bit more and move this. It's still kind of large. And to me, this shape down here, our light gray shape, is very similar in size to this top shape. And so I want to change those. I don't want them to be the same type of size. So I want this, I'm going to want to minimize this one. I think I like this one better. So I'm just going to go ahead and tilt a little bit more. And I kind of like that diagonal angle I had. So I'm going to kind of repeat that. Yeah, it's looking better to me. Just move that back a little bit. And I think that might be it. I really like that now. So I'll point out a couple other things here. Just wipe the paint off my hands. So we've made this gray corner smaller, which I like. So it's not competing as much with our real dark corner up here. And Donna's noticed the white spot right up there. But I really like that. I love the composition. I love this S curve running through here. I'm a big fan of that. And I really like these straight lines, these diagonal straight lines. Anytime you can get some straight lines in your painting to complement the curvy lines is a great thing. And it's often hard to do in acrylic pours because everything is so organic. But if you can get some straights in there, it makes such a big difference. And I really love these straights running in there. So a nice balance of curves and shapes, or curves and straights, I mean. And of course, the curves are dominating, and you don't want them to be an equal balance. So you want, 80-20 or even 90-10 is good. So we do have this is more of a 90-10. We've got some straights, mostly curves, but I really, really like that. We do have these two corners are very similar. This one is a little more curvy. This one's more straight, but they complement each other, and they're kind of dark, and so there's not lots of action happening in those. So I like that a lot. And then this is pretty much the center of interest, this big band right in here, mostly right in here, because we've got these cool cells. So that's kind of the center of interest to me. But I really like this one. So I guess what we learned, or what I learned, is you can get some cool effects, but it's not going to be a traditional cloud pour using the DecoArt satin enamel. So you have to do some different types of things with it. Now, if we had used just the regular white satin enamel, like a white cloud mix, this might have been different. We might have kept that center. Things might have changed, but with this gray cloud mix, it just didn't really. I didn't really love what was happening. So, but I really like what we have now. Let's see if we can fix this corner. So if you've got a little dot like that, like a little bit of white, you can do a couple things. First of all, you could let it dry and then go back in and paint it with a little leftover paint. Or what I'm going to do is just take my color, the straight color I had. I'm going to tilt my panel, and I want to do this relatively quickly here. So I want to kind of tilt it. I've got a hold of one of my hooks, and I'm just going to use my finger and just grab some on my finger. Hopefully you can see that. And just let it kind of drizzle off the edge. Just let it kind of roll over. You can help it along a little. And that should take care of it. Oh, I got a little bit more. Didn't see it over here. Okay. All right, there we go. So that's our corner. We fix that up. And I do really like this color scheme. It's very simple monochromatic color scheme with the blue gray and the dark kind of purpley black, white and another gray. To me, I think that's a very attractive color scheme. So, all right, so there we go. Now we could mess around with the orientation. That looks pretty cool right there. Or we could flip it around like we had before. But that's pretty much it. And that's kind of how we assess things and change them and try to make them a little more interesting. And I'm pretty pleased with that one. So, all right. Let me check and see if there are any questions that came in while I was messing with all that. Let's see here. If you do have any questions, throw them in the comments. I will be happy to check them. And Navala had a question from earlier, and she's asking if I torch it, would it sell up more? In my experience, not really. I don't really like to torch after I've poured. I don't really like to pop the air bubbles because those will cause cells. And I found, and this is my experience, it doesn't really create a whole lot of cells unless you're using the silicone, which I hardly ever do unless it's a very specific type of painting, and then I do torch. But so I normally don't torch. I'll torch my base coat to get some air bubbles out, but after that I pretty much leave it alone. I never really torch. So I know that's probably, I'm controversial because most everyone torches a whole bunch, tons of times, but not me. And let's see here. So good question though, Naval. All right. Let's see here. Well, thanks for all the great comments. Everyone agreed with me about that big center, and it wasn't very nice. So I'm glad we got rid of it. So All right. And Donna's got a great question. This is an interesting one. Do you find that usually the best orientation of a painting is the same as the way you were working on it? Not really. A lot of the times it will be, um, but it's kind of funny because that's the way you are looking at it, um, and so you're working on it in a certain, one orientation, and so that to you kind of is like, well, that your brain is like, well, that's the way it should go. But then once I pour things or during the process, I'll turn things around. And oftentimes I will find that, another way is better. Um, and I don't really think about it too much though. When the painting is wet, that I always decide when the painting is dry, then I'll take a look at it. I'll hang it on the wall in all the different directions. Sometimes it'll just be very pronounced, like, okay, this is the right way. Um, and But oftentimes I'll like to turn it around and look at it. So it's not, I wouldn't say most of the time, maybe 50% of the time, 60% of the time. Um, so it all varies though. But I don't really think about it at this stage. I wait till it's dry and then I can hang it up, step back, and then you can get a little better view of the painting. So, and then once it's dry, you normally have not looked at it in a little while. So you have your like fresh eyes to see things, and it can be easier that way too. And Nancy's asking, what less boring color than gray taupe would you have used with this color scheme, or would you simply not choose this color scheme again? Oh, I love this color scheme. And the gray is because it was the Deco Art satin enamel. That's why it was a gray color, and because that was the cloud mix. If I was to do it again, I might try to mix a white cloud mix, or like a slightly like a warm gray cloud mix using the white satin enamel or the bare satin enamel if you wanted to. But I just wanted to test out this stuff because I've had it for a long time. I haven't used it much, so I wanted to see if it would work for the cloud pour. But there's a lot of different colors you could use, and this is a kind of a warm gray color. So it's a kind of a warmish gray. There is white in here. The straight color out of the can is a little darker. But if I was to do this again, I really like this color scheme. I might make this more of a silvery gray. Silver would look amazing in here. So you could actually replace the metallic white with like a white cloud pour or a white cloud mix. Use like a silvery kind of gray color or a silvery light blue color and stay with the blue gray. And I love the dark color. So there's a lot you could do, but if you wanted to have a completely different, color in there, you could that would totally change the color palette. And Novala is recommended unbleached titanium. That's a great color to use. That's a fun color, like a warm kind of off-white color. So there's a ton of colors you could use instead of the this taupey gray. But I find these colors fun to play with. I really like grays. I'm a big fan of grays. But you could add a little more excitement with some silver, or something like that, I'd say. Then it'll give a little more sparkle. And there's no, well, aside from the metallic white, which caused lots of these cells in here, metallic white does really cool things. There's no metallics in any of these paints, really. So that's a good question, though, Nancy. So, but I would, you could modify this. I might try it again using a different colored cloud mix, using the white. I think that'd be cool, and maybe make a fun painting. So that would be another thing to try. So, okay. Well, that is our demo. Let me see here. Carla has a comment. She is saying, I have found that if you have Deco Art a while it acts differently. I stocked up with the white when it was scarce, and the older ones don't work as well. Yeah, that could be a part of it too. All these paints have kind of a shelf life. All of these things, don't last forever. Floetrol, they only recommended about a year for a shelf life. And I'm sure that goes with the Australian stuff too. But yeah, all these things they change over time. So be aware of that. Mostly, I'd say the tube paints or like oils, you can use oils for a long, long time. But even those kind of break down after a while. So, but great comment, Carla. And let's see. And Monique's got a question. Her question of the week is would you rather live on the beach or in a cabin in the woods? For Monique, it's the cabin. And I'd probably say I'm torn with that one. But I love the woods and I love cabins. I like the beach, though. I live in San Diego, but I'm not at the beach a lot. But I'd probably go with the cabin too. I think I'm more of a woodsy, cabiny guy than a beachy guy. So great question, though, Monique. Carla is beach girl. So yes, beach, cabin. Yeah, the answers are split. So, all right. Well, thank you everyone for joining me. This was a fun painting. Great to try paintings again, especially if you don't love them the first time. It's a fun exercise to just redo paintings. They're never ever going to be the same, as we saw right here. And a great thing about this is if you do the same color scheme, exactly the same painting, you can turn this into a collection. You could have 6 to 12 paintings in this collection, and then that's a big deal. That's like you have shown that you can stick to something and kind of seen it through. You can modify and tweak things and change them a little bit, but when you explore these things, explore certain color schemes, explore certain techniques, you can really get a really good feel for them. And then collectors love that. So when you have collections of paintings. So, all right. And cool. I thought Navala just said, please slap Brad, but she said, slap the like button. So thanks, Navala. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, thanks everybody. I hope you have a great weekend. Do some painting, post it in the group. I would love to see it. And if you try a cloud mix or try a cloud pour, let me know how it goes for you. And I will see you next week. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.